Cool, so let's get started because we have a hard stop today. So we want to make sure to
Okay,
finish
the sharp ziplib is not actually referenced anywhere, then that can
the what?
go. The sharp ziplib is okay.
It's already in the references, but it was missing in the folder.
Oh, okay, good, good.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not
I need
the
to
best
this.
way. Ideally, we should use NuGet, but as a quick fix, I thought it would be
Yeah. No, and even better is to in other modules or in other modules, module singular, like DMX, I removed sharp ziplib in the end and went with the native .NET
yeah,
compression library, which makes life a lot simpler.
yeah, and it's safer too.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome to this 8th of November Core Module Developers Group meeting. We're gonna go right on. We're gonna skip the validating last week meeting notes and stuff because we have a hard stop. So let's go directly into the subjects. A couple updates. There's a new release of the feedback module that has been published about a week ago. It's mainly bug fixes, so it was not sending emails with some combination of settings. If you had a specific combination, it was failing. That got fixed, and in the database, the referent user agent were reversed. So I fixed that. It's going to work on new installs and upgrades. So that's available. There's no major change other than that, so it's pretty safe to use. There is also a new release of the sitelog module, which was forgotten on our list of core modules for some reason, and that was still working other than if you install it new, there was no way to put the settings, because before that was part of the core in that time. So there was an existing pull request that added the settings inside of the module instead of the core, and that single pull request closed like almost all the open issues. And there was also a little problem logging the user information. Um, that's available right now to download. Um, I put this subject in the new items too because I want to discuss a little bit more on this module. In the things that are in progress, do we have any news on automated builds? I don't think so. Andrew's not with us. I know he was very busy. Anyone has anything on that? No?
No real updates other than that Oliver is willing to help out with anything that we want to do if we want to do something.
I had some time to look at to work on my scripts for Cake again. I think last week or something. What I'm running into is just a couple of things, but it's not really very well featured. I find Cake, so you have to really make your own stuff a lot, and I'm hesitating between two scenarios. Either I can code it all in C#, wrap it into a DLL that you put into your build folder, right, and say, okay, well, where the script sits for Cake, or you're going to have scripts that are basically C# scripts that do the same thing. And I hesitate a little bit between the two because the advantage of having a DLL is that, of course, you're working in Visual Studio, you're compiling, you've got all your IntelliSense, things work basically as they do. But the advantage, of course, of scripts is that it's easier for someone who uses it. Let's say we have a boiler template kind of a module where we have those scripts, and it's easier for someone to kind of jump in and say, oh no, I want to tweak this a little bit to my own taste.
Yeah.
So I think we need a discussion, and I think this is the best group to have it actually,
And we have a lot of different modules that come from different eras
Right.
that have
And
totally different build processes.
exactly, because often also, you keep stuff in different places. I try to, and I realize that the scripts that I make are heavily opinionated in how you would piece something together, for instance, right? So I'm a big fan of the resources file, for instance. So I put everything into the resources file that doesn't need to be announced to DNN. Right, and it's just like, okay, well, the rest just goes into the resources file, goes there, and everything else just sits in the root of the zip, and the manifest kind of takes care of putting that in the right place, whether it's a DLL or a script or whatever. But some people think differently. They're like, no, I want everything listed out and whatnot. So that requires a different type of script, and you might want to have an alternative to it. So I realize it's not always the way that other developers would see it. Although I'll stand happily defend, of course, my my approach to it.
I got your back, brother.
Yeah, I like the resource files way too.
Yeah, exactly. So resource files is one thing. So actually, what I at one point where I left off when I had to do other kind of real work again, it was when I realized that actually what I wanted to do, what I should do, is put the a lot of the manifest into in JSON in the package.json. So my approach is this, right? I would like to kill the manifest file from modules, if you like, from the developer. Take it out of the hands of the developer, right? So the ideally in my world, the manifest is just generated, and there isn't even one to begin with in the whole thing. It's generated on the fly, is absolutely solid, etc. Will not break the installation when it goes into DNN. And for most elements in your build, this is really easy to do. Like the scripts, for instance. Well, if you have all your scripts in a folder, your build tool can just look at that folder, enumerate them, get the right version number out of it, and create the right node and everything. Could do it for the assembly node, etc. So what is left is things like the module definition. That although people say, yeah, but you can pick that up from and you could have it read the database, so to speak, on the project that you're working on. Mm-hmm. I like to kind of keep it under notes. So what I used to have this dressed down manifest in my modules, which just had that node actually sitting there, right? So the manifest was correct, and all the build process did was just add the nodes for assembly, for scripts, and that kind of stuff, and set the version number correct. But it left the node intact that was the actual module definition, right? So the module definition was something I did by hand. I said, but I could also do the same thing in JSON, which is actually a little bit more terse than XML, and it achieves the same goal because I'm already working with that package.json thing in my build script, because that's, for instance, where the version number is, right? The version number is right at the top there. It says version and that is the number that will go into the zip file name. It will go into the manifest. It will go into the DLLs, right, and the assembly info and everything. So yeah, that's where I was headed.
The one thing that changes every build. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say, like, are you using separate version for? I'm sorry if I misunderstood what you're saying, but are you saying package.json kind of version?
Yeah,
because we ran into this issue with, like, there's a different version for that than there is for the module version, right?
So my package.json version is actually the version that determines the module version.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
'cause
how
you have a version
Because
on
we don't do
the
that
package
for.
JSON, you have it on the
what
assembly, you
what's
have it in the manifest, and
what's the
in the
use?
file name.
What's the use? David, enlighten me. What's the use case for having different version numbers on your package.json when that package.json is part of your module?
Well, they're two different things. If I want to, because one's npm based and the other one is module
Right? No, but
perspective, right? So
but tell me, why is there need for a different version number? Why would you want to have a different version number
can
on the
I come
package?
back to you on that? Because I know we do it. I just got to get my head back around why. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Come on,
Because
Dave.
we can.
We ran into that where there was a clear reason why those are different.
I would be.
I'll be right back to you.
Well, exactly, but because my like version numbers are your numbers that you communicate into the rest of the planet, and unless you're delivering two different things,
Yeah.
then okay. But he's actually asking in real time, so maybe we'll get an answer on that.
Maybe it's something else. But the
Right.
scientist answer to that question is because we can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that was where he was going, and I was like, oh yeah, no, wait, you're not getting away that easy.
So yeah,
but anyway, so that's where I was heading right now, and the discussion I would like to have within this group is like, what do you think? Should we keep it as .cake scripts? Or should we go for a DLL that we maintain somewhere some code for that?
But are we talking for that to be something general of tasks that not available?
Yeah, exactly.
In Cake, but that would be available for all kinds of multi-purpose things, or are we talking about the specific build script for that module?
Those. The build scripts are a very specific Cake, right? Mm-hmm. They're Cake scripts. And if you talk about the DLL, it actually references Cake as well, because there's no other way to do it. So it's very much tied to that build system. So if you have Cake, you would have that DLL, but see that DLL as the same thing as we used to have, which is community build tasks, right? We had that as well, but that was for MS Build. So, and I was never a fan, and so hence my hesitation of doing it as a DLL. I was never a fan of that because I didn't see what it was, right? It was just a .dll that sat there. I couldn't just open it up. I know I could go to source code and whatnot and find out what was inside of it, but I still had to trust this DLL that sits in, next to my precious code and does something. And if there's a surprise, I don't know why the surprise happened.
Because what I was thinking was maybe to go some kind of hybrid, to have a DLL that would be a NuGet package similar to the community tasks that would add whatever tasks we need that are not available in Cake, and then you have in code your specific build script.
Yeah, but you can actually do everything with just scripts and not a DLL. So you would avoid the NuGet complexity there. Right, so you could just have the Cake. All right, so Dave, tell me.
Yeah, sorry. I remember why it mattered to us, and it was really in the context of MV Quick Theme, where we've got a tool, and the version that's in package.json represents the version of the tool, whereas it may build a theme that we want to publish a different version number of that theme without changing the version of the tool. So if you're using it in the module context and it's a one-to-one relationship, then you're absolutely right. It won't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. All right. So anyway, indeed. So you could, right, that could all be tied together in that mechanism. So coming back to scripts versus DLL, if you can almost one-to-one lift out the code from the DLL and into a script, and it will more or less work. It's really funky to set up references to the .NET framework That works a little bit different in Cake, and sometimes I find it a bit counterintuitive because you've got to reference a friggin' path, hard path to, you know, C :/ Windows / systems / you know, no net framework, and then, you know, go to the DLL of where that thing lives. And that's really awful, right? It's not how we do stuff in a DLL where you just say, this was built on .NET Framework 4, and it will figure out wherever those DLLs are.
Yeah, I kind of prefer that.
Yeah, me too. So I'm going to see how far I can push one or the other way, and but yeah, the development on this is very patchy. I really need, like, it's really spare time this, because there's so many other things to do, especially
sure.
in the DNN zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, it's in progress.
Yeah.
Next was the extension catalog. On the last meeting I wrote, we were postponing this due to the DNN Hangout. Was there anything?
Yeah, nothing really happened. I guess we can really remove this off of this agenda as far as I'm concerned, because
Yeah, okay.
we did get some, some feedback, but I was hoping to learn a little bit more about the usage for MV Quick Pulse, but it doesn't really seem to be there unless people are just not telling.
Okay.
So I'm not sure it's worth the investment.
Cool. EPT is on vacation. Yeah, he was investigating a couple tools for automated release notes. You guys have anything on that, or we just postpone it until he comes back?
I think we postpone it until he comes back.
Well, he provided the list. I think we were going to try to go back and look and find that list of tools that he had. I know I didn't do that. Maybe somebody can take that, because I think he's done what he was going to do. It was just a matter of, I think the things that I heard was people wanted the ability to modify whatever was auto-generated, but other than that, I don't know of any other requirements. So it's probably just a matter of evaluating those tools and seeing which ones make sense.
Yeah, for me, well, I don't know what he wanted to show on this, or what's the good thing to use here. For me, it's more of a personal workflow. Every time I release a version, I go back to the development branch and I bump it for the next version, and I generate already everything for the release notes and everything but blank. And every time I make a change, the change includes the release note that goes with it. So it's all in the release notes file. So yeah.
I think this was more GitHub driven, what he was looking at, where it would automatically pull in any pull requests that were merged between the last version release, follow commits, so you wouldn't have to reinvent that part of the wheel each time.
Okay. In the things in progress, well, it's kind of in progress. I got a message from Francisco Perez about the vendors banners module. That one was also forgotten from the core modules, but that was a module that got taken out of the original platform, and it's on the DNN community repository. Basically, the need here, it works, but everything is fixed size, so it doesn't work nice on responsive sites. I personally never use that module, so I'm not extra familiar with it, but also I don't know where the standards are now. I know back then there was Skyscraper and Banner and Square. There were very specific industry sizes for those types of banners, and they are kind of hard-coded inside of the module. So I didn't hear back from Francisco, but I will open an RFC issue on that module to see what people want to go in the direction of this, so that it still supports industry standards but is responsive. So I'm gonna open tonight an RFC on that, and we can discuss it further. But basically, it's working. It's not failing. It's just not responsive. In the new business, KOI integration and core modules, that was Peter, I think,
No,
mentioned
No,
that.
that was me.
David?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit here and there, but I was just curious if anybody believes that we should put any effort into incorporating this solution in any of the core modules. Because, and the reason I bring it up is because, I'd love to kind of help with some of the styling of
Mhm.
some of these modules to kind of bring them a little more current. And one way to be framework agnostic, or not fully agnostic, but pretty framework agnostic, is to use this solution. But I have a few concerns about it, I guess. Just curious if we could have a dialogue about that and come to consensus on whether or not it's good.
My opinion on KOI, there's no easy way to detect if, without KOI, I mean, to detect what the skin is using, Bootstrap 3, Bootstrap 4, other stuff, And when I do a module for a very specific client who's not going to change his skin, it saves time to use Bootstrap classes because, it's there, the buttons and stuff, it's nice. For something that's going to be distributed widely, like a module that is everybody can use, then it's a bit more complicated because you don't know what the skin has. So KOI is nice because it solves that problem. It can detect if the skin supports it, if it's using Bootstrap 3 or 4 or no Bootstrap or others, and it's extensible for that. So it's nice. However,
It
what
can
I
detect
failed, it can detect it, or
if
the skin.
if the theme has
Exactly,
koi.json
yeah,
in it.
if the
That's the
skin
only.
reports it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if the big modules skin vendors integrated KOI in their updates or if they just didn't care about it. So I don't know how many people will have skins that have KOI. And one thing I kind of don't get the point of KOI is that if you detect if it's Bootstrap 3 or 4 or no Bootstrap, then you can style for no Bootstrap or Bootstrap 3 or Bootstrap 4. So you have to do the job 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea is that you become more flexible as a module, and it is more code for sure.
Yeah.
But it will adapt to whatever the skin is emitting. But it depends on the skin, and I think this is a rabbit hole we've all been down to, is that we make something that depends on a group of other vendors playing along, and then you realize that actually this is not going to go anywhere because no one really cares that you've done this way, and they don't necessarily agree. It'd be much nicer if the actual core framework had a I don't know, a set of known settings for this kind of thing in the client dependency framework, right? So I made some adjustments to the client dependency framework in this direction, where I was hoping that might one day become that, which is that even that the client dependency framework is basically manages what gets sent out over the wire. So it is the place to have things communicate with each other. Like, hey, what is it? What's going on? Right? You could interrogate the client dependency framework and say, do you have Bootstrap 3 listed?
Yeah, what version of jQuery are you loading and
What
stuff?
version of jQuery,
Yeah,
exactly.
nice. Mm-hmm.
And given that we are supposed to actually use the client dependency framework to emit our stuff, because otherwise it will never be able to be bundled by DNN, and I'm assuming that everyone plays along with that. That is still the best place to actually, probe and interfere with these things. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of approaches. We could just state which frameworks we're, supporting in the module
Right.
release time. I mean, that's where I'm kind of leaning towards, because they've already changed the model once. Right. And that's what I think you were alluding to. It's like we're now depending on somebody else's opinion of how this, needs to work. And if that changes, then it has a negative effect.
I think we can learn from some of the things that are done in Koi. I think there's some interesting stuff in there, definitely, and I definitely appreciate the effort that Daniel made to make something like this.
We're talking Daniel Mettler.
Mettler, yeah, and yeah, not Faladas, I think he's called. Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Loads of Daniels actually in our community, but anyway, so yeah, Mettler's solution. So you know, I think we can actually pick some of the best ideas from it, and maybe come up with an even better solution for this stuff.
So in the meantime, do you have any preferences on how we should proceed with UI updates on the module?
My opinion is that it should be relying on the less stuff possible. So using just like CSS3 grid system or Flexbox, you know, very standard that it works. And if we want to extend that to be nicer looking on Bootstrap and or this and that, and we have the time for, cool. Now we have to keep in mind also not to invest too much time on UI, knowing that we're gonna have to change the UI on all these modules.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the CSS framework won't really change.
Yeah, but the controls probably gonna be different and stuff.
Controls. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's not something we should be putting too much time until each of these modules, well, module per module, it's converted either to MVC or an SPA pattern, because web form is going to go away at some point. So,
well, I mean, should we put any effort towards converting all these controls to web components? Because I'm kind of already started doing that. I've already got a label control for it, and thought about doing some of the other ones.
Just a bit of a moving target, but any move that we make away from web forms would be a good move.
David, can you make a presentation on a meeting like this one once on just purely that? Just demo what the web controls would look like in the future, and how a module would use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're the one who presented web controls on the Southern Fried meeting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So that was
presenting out at DNet Summit as well.
So for now, I would leave the Koi integration as I think it opens up a larger discussion that also concerns the framework itself.
The only thing maybe we would have to check how it would work for controls that need to communicate with the DNN API directly. Let's say an upload control, date picker where you would need to have the user time zone and stuff. How would that be packaged to be reusable?
Yeah, go look at the React components and you'll see how it looks. It's ugly. I mean, that is a great question, because that's really where the problem comes in. Is
so you're gonna need an API in the core for image upload that is made for that control, right?
That the control can access and use without having to build that in the actual component itself. In other words, that the end developer using the component does everything that it needs to do to access that. So that's really how you have to do it. You have to offload the power or the feature of the component itself and put that into the developer's hand that's implementing it, and just give them the flexibility to do what they need to do. So it's just like kind of going out and getting a jQuery plugin that now you want to do upload into DNN. Well, you have to wire that up yourself, right? So, or in a bigger scale, you take the CK editor, right? You got to have a provider. So that's the implementation of a JavaScript based editor, right?
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of a moving target, because I know we have a ton of React components available to us, and those can be used outside of the persona bar, but they're React. They're not independent, as web components don't depend on anything, right?
That is correct,
Mm.
which is the power of it. Well, they depend on the features of the browser. And now that we have native support with Firefox as well, there are no browsers right now that can't support the things that we would be using in web components natively without polyfills.
And the polyfills will still be there for the old browsers.
That's correct. Yeah, for the older versions.
So that would be a project that would be separate from DNN, that would be a NuGet package people can use, or would that be something we need to integrate into the core?
No, right now I'm doing it under NV Quick Components, but there's no reason that couldn't be. It's being published under NPM, not
Cool.
as a NuGet, but with NPM.
Okay.
Andrew Heffling's working with me a little bit on that, but we kind of got to a hold pattern a bit before we jumped in too much. We just wanted to kind of, because right now it's configured all as a collection, so it's you get the entire collection regardless of what component you want. So I think we're talking about separating those out into individual components that can be consumed via NPM.
Okay, so for KOI integration, so basically we need a base style that doesn't rely on any framework, and on top of that we can extend it if we want to make it look nicer. If KOI is there, it's something we can do. There's nothing special to integrate other than using KOI, right? There's no decision to be made here.
I think I missed your point there.
Because
right.
Okay, in the agenda I put in the new business the stuff that we just started talking about, and if there's an action item, if there's something to do, I put it on the unfinished business, and when it's completed I put it finished. Now this thing here, it's pretty much finished. There's no
right.
action item to do on our part. People can use it if they want. That's the thing, right?
Well, I guess the question is, like, if I wanted to contribute or anybody else wanted to contribute to help the UI, are we saying, okay, yes, you can do KOI? Or are we saying, no, only use CSS3 and, Flexbox and CSS Grid or whatever? Or are we saying, nope, you can use Bootstrap 4, you can do whatever you want to?
Yeah, that's what I was meaning here, that we need the base that doesn't rely on anything, because we don't know if the skin even reports, if the skin uses KOI or stuff. So there's no way we can be sure that there is any framework. So we still need a base that works without anything. And if we want to improve upon that, it's open for people to do it.
Okay.
But there's no action on our part to say use KOI, don't use KOI. But if you want to use KOI, go ahead and add it, right? Make sense?
Yeah, sure. I was just curious if we were going to try to standardize on a particular styling direction.
Well,
because if one module uses KOI and the other one uses Bootstrap 4 and the other one uses Material, but
but a module could not use Bootstrap 4 directly inside of the module, because it would break on the skin if the skin is using Bootstrap 3, or it would have. Yeah.
That's my point. We kind of need a direction, because we run into this all the time. Module developers have an opinionated, way of doing styling, and then the theme does something different, and then or does the same thing, but they're loading two different versions of the frameworks, and now they're not being handled properly by CDF, and just all kinds of issues. So just curious as to what our direction is.
I don't think we're going to be able to pull the trigger on that in this small meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's
pretty, but I think we should bring it up again.
Yeah. Okay. But my point was that even if we decide, okay, let's go a Bootstrap 4 and stuff, we still need a base style, in case it's not there. Right?
Not if that is the standard we're choosing.
But you would load Bootstrap 4 with the module?
Exactly, which is not a great practice, but
And
Yeah.
what if
we
the
could do it.
skin is using Bootstrap 3? You would namespace it, or?
Yeah, you could namespace it.
I mean, there's different things, but then that's a performance hit because you're loading multiple versions of the same framework. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's a bigger conversation. I don't mean to open
Okay.
a can of worms, but I'm
Okay.
just thinking I would love to contribute to helping these modules look a little bit more modern. And
Yeah.
I don't want to waste time doing it. I would like to know kind of what we agree is the right path forward.
Yeah.
Not a clear-cut answer either.
Yeah. Yeah, it fires up a couple other concerns, because very often if you're going to be using mainly Bootstrap 4, there's color classes that you can set your primary, secondary. That's very, very useful, because if you have your brand colors there, then you have one place you change it and it affects everything. So if the module could reuse that, it would have whatever company branding colors for the buttons and stuff. But
Exactly.
that would need KOI. So it uses the built-in one in the skin and not the one with the module. And we could load conditionally the namespaced one on the module, depending if the skin already has it or not, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I get more now, your point. Okay, so I'm going to put to be continued so we continue this discussion. As I said before, the site log module. Okay, I made a small but whatever, I don't need to show that. I made a small fix so that now we have a UI to do the settings and everything. Now, is that still relevant today with Google Analytics and stuff, or there would really be no use? Because if people would like that, this could be not too bad to re-implement as a persona bar module.
But isn't
But I
this
don't know how to use it.
the old admin
Yeah.
module?
Well, this is the old one that tracks all the stuff that now everybody uses, Google Analytics or Clicky or some other platform to.
Oh, okay.
to
So
manage.
yeah,
The
that's
one that
the
got
model
turned
for it.
off by default, I think,
Yeah.
way back in version 4. So
Yeah, because of performance. That's right.
yeah, exactly.
So I don't think that that's something we need to continue developing,
No,
right?
same as the users online, right? That was
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we personally haven't used it since it went away. And we didn't even use it much before then. And by we, I mean any of our clients. But I do know there are some people that still use this for internal reporting purposes. I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah. I'm going to put an RFC, see what people think on this. If we see there's no replies, we can consider it's pretty much abandoned and leave it the way it is. If we see there's interest, that would be a nice module candidate for the first core module that's going to be a persona bar module. Okay, security analyzer. What is that? Oh, dismiss.
Do we have a few hours to talk about this one?
Just a really quick update. The security analyzer, basically there's the old one that was a web forms module that was released by the community for the NN7 and up, or 6 and up, don't remember. And now there's a new one that's built into the core and is a persona bar extension. The old one, if you have it installed, will analyze your things and say you're safe, where you're not really safe because that was not updated, and to be safe you need to be on 9.2 and up now. So there was a minimal change, kind of a last update to kill that module that will mention that there's known vulnerabilities and you need to upgrade to the NN9.2 and uninstall this module because it's now integrated in the core. And that's going to close this module. There was like 20 something open issues on the old one. Some of them were already fixed, just forgotten to be closed. Some of them I moved into the correct repository, and it's all cleaned up. So this module will, in the next days, get a new release and be closed.
Thank you
Okay.
for all those notifications this morning.
Good.
I really appreciate that.
So yeah, so there's a cleanup. So if you're looking for your issue on this one, it's either closed because there was a reason, I put comments on everything, or it's moved into the admin experience. So it's going to be on the GitHub, DNN software, and on the admin experience, and it's all the top issues that start with security analyzer.
Yeah.
So these things here. So that's more of a cleanup and to close the old one. Displays. There we go. We've been working a little on the blog module. I closed maybe 10 or 12 issues that were either duplicates or just a question and stuff, and I tagged all of the other ones. We were just talking, me and Peter. I have two pull. Oh, he already merged them in. So
there you go.
Awesome. So the build process is fixed. Now you can clone and build, and everything is good to go. And all the issues have been tagged with either a bug or an enhancement, or if it needs more details, there's a waiting for reply. Some of them could not reproduce and stuff. So the issues are cleaned up. And I put all the bugs into a 642 milestone. So during the next 1 or 2 weeks, I'm gonna be sending pull requests on all the bugs. I'm gonna leave the enhancements aside unless
Perfect.
I'm working on something.
So and now that you're working on it and you're a bit familiar with the code, and maybe you know a small moment to discuss like the future direction of this module. Now, as you can see, I've built a templating system into it that is based off of the DNN's token replace templating system, but I enhanced it somewhat so you get custom tags that do intelligent things like repeat things, for instance, or do an if-then kind of thing. So that kind of made the templating system a bit richer and able to do this. Now, there's the very valid question you could have is like, Peter, why didn't you just do this in Razor? Well, actually, this was done before the whole MVC pattern and before Razor became a thing in DNN. So I was kind of stuck with the technology of the day. Now, obviously, you're looking at it going like, wow, that could actually be done a lot better in Razor, because then I can unleash all of my C# right into the page and do whatever I want. So the question is, do we, I don't feel we should enhance the old templating system anymore. I think, that's kind of like it served its purpose. But I think it warrants if something is going to be added to it, I think it would be done in a new templating system that uses Razor, which is just awesome for this kind of thing. So that's one thought about it.
But we don't have to remove the existing one, though.
No. You would. Of course, people are, they have something up and running, so you don't want to annoy them. It's just that they're not going to get new features into it, right? So they're basically, if it works, it works, and that's it. And then the other thought is, I made a push. I didn't publicize this a lot, but to me, these kind of templates could be part of skins. So the module actually looks first in, it has so-called system templates. They are the ones that come with the module. So they're in the desktop module /blog/resources /view templates folder. But then it looks under your skin folder slash blog slash template, something like that. And it will call those skin templates, right? So that would allow a skin developer to roll out a package that actually contains the complete blog module template that would be necessary to make it look good.
Yep.
And I've always felt that should be the way that we should go about making core modules look good in the future. And now with Razor files, you know, they're going to survive for a while anyway. And you could just, you know, load the Razor file, put your object in there, and boom, you know, off to the screen. So maybe actually this would jump into the COI discussion as well, and say, you know what, we're gonna offer like basic templates that render basic content, etc. But we'll have some documentation about how you can style this and roll it into your skin, so that a skin provider can say, well, you know, my skin actually supports these and these and these core modules.
Yeah, I like it.
It's,
And on a third level, it would look into the portal.
right. At the third level, you can have your own skins. You can say in the whole template management system, it says if you want to change it, you obviously can't change directly a system skin template or a skin, I think, template either, because that would affect everyone, right? Yep. So what it does is say, okay, well, then you copy that into your portal and you give it a name of some sort that you want to, and then you can edit it there. And that sits under, you know, your portal folder /blog/templates. And so you have those 3 levels of templating that you can use. And I think it is something we could put our weight behind, and first of all, you know, show other people how the blog module does that, and maybe attack another module and try to do the very same thing.
That is a fantastic idea.
Thank you, David. That made my day.
I would be in full support of that, because I mean, and it's so frustrating, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it is. It's just everybody has their own way, and it's like, to really style a site really depends on the solution that you put in place. And then
exactly.
I don't know how many commercial vendors would really adopt this, but if it was well done,
yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
The open source skins of our good friend Jeff
Barlow.
Jeff Barlow. If he would roll a blog template into it, that would be complete control over how the whole thing would be rendered. There would be no surprises.
And that's the right place for it to live.
And that's the right place for it to live.
Yep, all styling in one place.
And so you know, given that that's an open source one, probably there is some motivation for people to actually add the blog template that would look good.
Well, if we could figure out a way with MV Quick Things, a lot of people are using that to build themes these days. So
exactly,
we could build in some commands, for instance, to pull in various extension template, you know, that could include.
All right. Well, let's move on that idea.
Awesome. So that's pretty much it for this week.
Yeah, we have 6 minutes. I need to.
Good timing.
So I'm gonna grab something to drink before the next meeting as well.
Yeah. Cool. So I'll see you soon in the next meeting, and thanks for attending, and see you in.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks to you, Daniel, for the work you've done, especially also for the blog module.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
It's good to hear from you too, Joe.
I'll try not to be as chatty next time.
All right.
He's like, what shall I choose? Shall I choose NPR radio or switch this on. Okay, let's switch this on.
This is certainly better than all of the political talk I've heard recently.
Well, there you go. Okay, we'll try to make it more heated then next time.
Yeah, we'll try to argue some more next time.
Bye.
All right, bye, Joe.
All right.
Okay, see you soon.
See you later.
Thanks, Daniel.
No problem.